Okay.
They're a whole
Alrighty.
snack, as they say.
Yeah.
All right. So now we move on to David Bowie. David Bowie.
Yeah.
Let's Dance. Coming at number 106 in the 1980s on Best Ever Albums, number 9 in 1983, number 685 of all time. It is David Bowie's 10th highest rated album on Best Ever Albums. And David Bowie's ranked number 4 of overall artist rankings on Best Ever Albums. And I don't think this one made Rolling Stone either. So, or maybe it did. I have to look. I'll clean that stack. Somebody's going here. I think it's John. John, what did you think?
Well, god damn it, this album's good. There was a part of me that thought like, oh, David Bowie, like by the time the '80s hits, you know what I mean? Like he's kind of lost a little of his fastball. But like Scary Monsters and Super Creeps, I'm like, oh wow, this is a fantastic album. This is as good as any of the albums in the '70s. But maybe '80, it's still early. Maybe it's not there. And then you think like Let's Dance, and a couple of the songs you're like, oh, those are good songs, but like you're like, oh, but like if it's just those two songs, right? It doesn't measure up. And of course it isn't just those two songs. There's all kinds of good songs throughout this album, and no matter how much I think that David Bowie's gonna fall off, it certainly didn't happen here, because this album is just filled with great songs, and just it's if you're looking for vibes, David Bowie's got vibes for you. If you're looking for some like guitar riffs at time, there's some tasty choices in here. Bass lines are great in this. The artistic choices he's making, you can dance to this album. It was just such a damn good album, like along the way. And I think I was also just really overjoyed, because the fact I was not expecting to hear a Bowie album that stood up with his best work, and that's what I got. I felt like there was a lot on this album that was as enjoyable as any David Bowie album that we listened to. Now, is it my favorite David Bowie album? No, but I think that's as much a testament to how many great David Bowie albums there are, as opposed to like a commentary specifically on this album. This album also ages remarkably well. All of David Bowie's stuff does. It's amazing how much it can transcend a variety of decades when you put it in, and just it could be released today, it could have been released in the 70s, the 80s. It's sort of timeless music for me. I've got lots and lots of thoughts specifically about the music on this, but I'm actually very curious to hear what you guys thought of this album. So I'll early punt on this and come back to it. But yeah, it's at least in terms of like my thoughts on this album, like strong thumbs up.
Nice.
I
think
it's you,
my turn.
Josh.
Yep. Okay. And so I'm not as high on this album as you are, John. It's still a good album, and 10th highest seems about right in my opinion compared to the other David Bowie albums. If we're comparing him against his other previous work, I liked Scary Monsters and Super Creeps more. I think that this is kind of considered the last great Bowie album of that period before he kind of goes into the less popular stuff, kind of like when Dylan goes to New Age Christian or whatever. But I actually don't know anything after this of David Bowie's, so I'm not a completist of him, even though I like him a lot. So I guess the hits that are on here are fantastic. Like when you come out of the gate with the first 3 tracks, Modern Love's like an all-timer, and then China Girl, which is kind of like almost like a forgotten song, but when I hear it I'm like, oh yeah, this song is awesome. And then Let's Dance, which is kind of infectious, and then I Love Cat People, which is the second to last track, and that's kind of like, I think that was a single. Good song. I think it was a single. It was put out for the Cat People album that came out this year. Cat People movie that came out this year, Paul Schrader movie, and it's just great. I don't know if it's considered a deeper cut, but it's definitely one worth listening to. But I found the other songs kind of forgettable, unfortunately, and the felt like he was kind of losing his fastball with them. They kind of felt a little generic to me. The Ricochet song kind of I felt was too slow, and bothered me in some way that I couldn't put my finger on. The Criminal song, I didn't realize that was a cover. I thought that was actually pretty solid. And it was a cover of a band that I had never heard of. I think only lasted one album that he knew about. And it has good guitar on that. He has kind of a seductive voice on it. And Shake It kind of sounds, the last track sounds almost like Prince, or the synth reminds me of Prince on it. And it sounds kind of the most contemporary of the album. So talking through it, that's still what, like 3/4 of the album, if not more, that I really liked. So I guess I'm reevaluating on the fly here. Yeah, it's pretty good. Is it like the best David Bowie album? No, but it's probably still better than a lot of the artists that we have listened to. And that's something, that's just a testament to how good of an artist he is, that I'm kind of so or slightly higher when I've like loved many of his other albums wholeheartedly. So it's like damning it with faint praise, or I don't know what the phrase is, but it's still pretty good, and it's better than most other artists, and you should still listen to it. So thumbs up.
Yeah, I'm Team John here. I love this record. I think this should probably be number 4 for Bowie in terms of ranking his albums.
Really?
3 or 4, I'd say. Yeah, absolutely.
Wow,
This is great.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean,
I'd say probably too. Yeah,
it starts off with what might be my favorite Bowie song. Modern Love. I know it's not a creative, groundbreaking kind of artistic. It is a great song. It's just it's a banger. It's such a catchy tune. And I've always liked China Girl, Let's Dance, good songs as well. So he's putting the heavy hitters here up front, and then he gets into the songs that I didn't know as well. And I like these deeper cuts. I was, hearing a lot of different things. Without You's got Roxy Music. I mean, that seems like it should have been on Avalon.
Maybe that's why I didn't like it.
Maybe. And I loved Avalon, so I was looking, I guess, I don't know if Eno, I guess Eno didn't produce Avalon either, but I don't know. That was definitely that I was thinking of that. I did like Ricochet. I liked the kind of the drum part, the kind of the offbeat drumming with the piano. That was really cool. The Cat People Putting Out Fire, I'd never heard that version before. I'd always known the version that was, I guess it was on a soundtrack, right? It was like originally the version that I had known, the slower down version, the more dramatic part. The song was on a soundtrack, and I did look this up, that Bowie didn't like that version as much, so he re-recorded it for this record. And apparently I read somewhere that people were more from, this might be the more well-known version of the song, which I found surprising because I had never heard this before. And my initial reaction was, I like the original one better. I like kind of like the way that he does the dramatic, and then he does the with gasoline, and goes into that whole thing. Yeah. But the more I listened to this version, I really, really liked it. And that is Stevie Ray Vaughan playing the guitar solo on that. I also looked that up. So that was a nice little find, because I realized I did know that song, but just not that version. So
wait, so did he do the original version and just re-record it, or this is a cover of somebody else doing it?
No, it's a Bowie song.
Oh,
it says music Giorgio Moroder, actually,
Okay.
here on Best Ever Albums. So maybe he didn't write that, but what I read was that he recorded it, didn't like the version, so he decided to do it more of an upbeat rock song, and that's what he did. What he did here. And
Giorgio Moroder did the score for the Cat People movie.
Okay.
So, and this is kind of tied to that.
Got it. Yeah, right. So he probably did the music, and maybe Bowie did the lyrics, perhaps.
Yeah.
I mean, it says music. I don't know how all music.
It's like an epic cinematic type song, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So it makes sense. Yeah.
Well,
Also,
but this
Sorry,
version's this one's more of a rocking, more of a traditional, maybe less dramatic, but still really good. I really like that. The more I listened to it, the more I was like, maybe I do like this one better. I wasn't, so 100% sure. Did you find something else there, Josh?
Oh, I was just gonna say I love its use in Inglourious Bastards also. That's when she burns the theater down in that movie.
Yeah.
So
So yeah, Criminal World, Shake It's got is a little funky. You know, it's got like some of the funk going on there, and so yeah, just another fun record to listen to. And I guess I was surprised that it was ranked, you know, lower. I mean, it's behind. Well, we never did Diamond Dogs, so I don't know that album as well, I guess. But I think I like this better than Aladdin, Sane, and Heroes, and you know, maybe even Scary Monsters, I would say, and Hunky Dory. Hunky Dory, I always felt that was I think that should be lower. But anyway, thumbs up on this. This is yeah, Bowie's definitely for me has not lost its fastball here. This is a really good record. I was expecting it to. That's the other thing. I was kind of expecting this to be not as good or not as interesting aside from the 3 singles. And because I had lower expectations, I liked it even more. So
Yeah.
because I was just surprised. So thumbs up for me.
There's so many good bass lines on this album, as there are on all David Bowie albums. But like, you're just, I almost one of the listens for every David Bowie album is usually just centered on like what do the bass lines sound like, because his songs just always have highly appealing bass to me. It's kind of funk, kind of running at times, kind of, you know, it's a very prominent feature of Bowie that I think I always have realized, but I'm only now coming to realize that Bowie, the song construction, but also the bass lines, is really the secret sauce for a lot of his stuff. So, yeah.
I definitely want to hear both versions of that song now.
You haven't heard the you would
I probably have. I just don't.
I'm sure you have, because it's one of those things. I'm not even sure how I know that or where I've heard it, but I've heard it multiple times. It was not like a one off. It's definitely something that John, you know what I'm talking about? You've heard it, right?
Yes. Yep. For sure. There's multiple versions of that song. Yeah.
Yeah.
But the one that I'm sure you've heard of it, Josh, for sure.
Yeah.
So remember way back when we started Bowie, and you said to me, like, I'm surprised that somebody could say, like, David Bowie. Remember that whole talk we had way back when? Like, that you remember it was like I said I had a friend who was really into Bowie who was sort of my Sherpa, and you're like, I never really ran across anybody who's like David Bowie's. But do you see like how that could be a thing now that we've done like 10 albums of his?
Oh, it doesn't surprise me that it was a thing. It's like I'm not shocked that David Bowie's like got amazing albums or anything like that.
But now that you've heard him in like, what is this now, 15 years worth of albums as opposed to just the greatest hits, you know, like to see the totality.
Sure.
I just
absolutely.
I just always go back to like on every single David Bowie album, there's bound to be a piece of music that I'm like, God damn, that's a great, like, you know, on Scary Monsters it was like Ashes to Ashes, like the guitar part in that. This one is like Modern Love, you know, it's like Sound and Vision on Low. There's always Suffragette City. There's always one like piece of music where I'm like, that is just like a nearly perfect piece of like pop structured music, right? On every single track, or on like, you know, on every single album, there's one song like that. So, it's kind of
or
amazing.
more than that.
Well, yeah, there's more, but just there's one that like you immediately recognize as this sonic thing that gets reinvented, right? And just different things, and you know, you've heard it without even hearing it. So, you know, like Modern Love, that beginning part, right?
The
you
guitar
hear
part,
often.
and then
it could be used on like sports highlights. It could be like everything, you know. It's really, once again, it's very versatile. So yeah,
it's just great because it's like that's a repetitive song, but the way it builds, it's got this not operatic. It's like a choir, like the church choir kind of thing going nuts at the end, and it just builds, and it's great. Yeah.
Yeah. When I was listening to this album, Emily walked in. She was like, wait, David Bowie did this song? And then like the next song came on and she's like, he did this one too.
Yes, he did. Well, it looks like Iggy Pop wrote the lyrics for China Girl and helped write the music. So
I mean, it is very Iggy Pop.
Yeah.
I don't find that
like,
surprising.
You know, it is kind of an interesting thing though, because it shows a little bit of self-awareness though too. It's like, you know, the blue eyes are going to come and tell you how to run your world, kind of. So like, I mean, it's Iggy a little bit more contemplative, but yeah, it's also dripping with sex.
I will say probably the biggest negative I would say on this is I think that the version of Let's Dance is definitely too long. I don't need the 7 minute and 37 seconds version of that. I think that you could tell that that's like the not radio edit, you know, because there's just parts of it where I'm like, I don't remember that part from the the singles album that I had. So that's a little bit long, but other than that, it's top notch.
I love that flangy guitar in Let's Dance, like wow, like it just comes at different sounds. Like that's always been appealing to me and humorous as well. So, And yeah, good call. Whoever said "Shake It" sounds like a Prince song, because it absolutely does, for sure.
That was Josh.
Really, yeah, really good call there, because that is a very direct corollary to Prince. So, yeah, strong thumbs up. This one's going to be pretty high on that list of albums we've listened to so far, as with Scary Monsters. So, David Bowie, you rascal, you just keep showing up high on my list. So,
Number 4 of all time.
Scary Monsters is currently my second highest rated album on the main show albums.
yeah, I haven't taken a look at mine yet, but both these albums